new footage has come out, just released, that shows her earlier that day. And I think the video from earlier that day is just as important for two reasons. And I'll tell you what those two reasons are after you watch the video. But here, I'm pulling the video up now.
Well, we said we could get you in touch with some more help, right?
I got some help. They gave it to me. I got it. I got it, y'all. I promise. I got everything I need. Just need to go do it.
Are you going to head over to Helping Hands today?
I'm going to call them. Yeah.
Oh, they're open. You can probably just go over there.
Okay.
Yeah. And you got your medication?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm taking it. I wish I could find it so y'all can see when I took it last.
We believe you.
And when I eat, I'm going to take my medicine. I couldn't even sleep a few nights. I almost went to the room. But I knew I needed it for my license. I threw away all my food. My kids and us need food. I don't know where they at. I think they hurt my head.
No, they're at their dad's house. They're worried about you too. Everybody just wants you to be okay. That's all it is.
Everybody just wants you to be okay. That's what the police said. And to be clear, these are different police officers than the ones who would be part of her death sequence later that night. And that's why the video is so telling. In this incident, the police were talking to her. They were treating her like a human being. They were reassuring her that her family just wanted her to get help. You also notice, or you may not have noticed, behavioral health specialists were on the scene, and they talked to Massey before allowing her to drive off. This is the exact opposite of what would happen just 16 hours later, again, when Sheriff's Deputy Shan Grayson, someone with a history of violence, a history of aggression toward women, was allowed to keep walking around, keep patrolling, keep rocking that badge, and ultimately was given the opportunity, given his position as an officer, to kill this unarmed Black woman. This new footage is important for multiple reasons. One, it's a reminder that this woman was not well. It's a reminder that she needed mental health support, but that, again, she was posing no violent threat. The same lack of a violent threat that she presented earlier in the day on video, we could clearly see she posed that same non-threat later in the day. She was harmless. And the fact that this next set of officers were able to treat her as such shows that it was not impossible to engage her. These officers could have said, oh, she was going to use the car as a weapon. Oh, she was going to make a break for it. You know, there's always a reason to make someone seem like they are a lethal threat if that's what you're into, if that's the type of time you're on. But that isn't what these officers did. And I'm not here to praise these particular officers. They did their job. And as an abolitionist, I will talk in a second about that. Their job itself needs to be rendered obsolete. Their job shouldn't be a job. But to the extent that police are forced in these situations, this is how you handle it. You see, because of our nation's obsession, our appetite for incarceration, our carceral desire, we have committed to treating every single problem through carceral logics. In other words, as they say, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every object is going to look like a nail. If the only way we know how to respond to problems is through carceral solutions and through carcerality, then everything is going to be criminalized. Everything is going to be punished. Everything is going to be responded to with containment and blame and aggression and repression, as opposed to wholeness and healing and restoration and investment and care. And this becomes part of the problem. And if you are a so-called, I don't even say so-called, if you are a well-intentioned cop, and there are police officers out there who are well-intentioned. There are police officers out there who genuinely just want to keep the public safe, who genuinely just want to leave the community better. The problem is you've been placed into a system that does not allow that. It's fascinating. We live in a society that does not allow you to say, you know, that policing is broken. And they always want you to focus on the good cop. But they have no problem telling you that the educational system is dysfunctional. They have no problem telling you that public education sucks. And when you say, well, my mom's a teacher, they say, oh, well, your mom's a good lady in a bad system. But somehow we can't accept that policing functions similarly. But anyway, so if you are a good officer, if you do have good intentions, if you do wake up every day not intending to do harm, you're still placed in an impossible set of circumstances because the system is designed to make you an enforcer, to make you a repressor, to make you someone who escalates rather than de-escalates. The reason that situation we just saw on video was not escalated, the reason why it didn't turn into a crisis was because there was because the police didn't come their guns drawn. You don't have to start there. But also because there were behavioral health specialists there. Police are not trained to be mental health advocates. They're not trained to be therapists. They're not trained to do crisis intervention at the level of a trained psychologist. They're not trained to do drug addiction interventions. They're not trained to do these things. But what ends up happening is in a society that makes its money off the exploitation and incarceration of the vulnerable population, there's big money in carceral solutions, and the police become tax collectors. That's why they walk through Ferguson, Missouri, stopping people like Mike Brown for jaywalking. That's why they're enforcing all these traffic tickets, is because the cities and the states need money, and the political economy of policing is such that, you know, locking people up is big business. And so police are put in situations that they could never possibly solve properly. What are you going to do? What are you going to do in a situation where someone's having a mental health breakdown and they're wielding a knife? All police officers got a gun, and so they're going to use their gun against your knife. Well, what happens if we live in a society that invests in mental health so that the person doesn't get to the point where they're walking through the streets wielding a knife? And what does it mean to have the proper institutions in our society so that when somebody is having a mental health crisis, I mean, Sonya Massey's family, like he said, the police officer knew that her family cared about her and wanted her to be okay and was looking out for her. Problem is, even the families who love her don't have anybody to call sometimes except for the police. And nobody wants to call the police on their baby. So this new information, this new video is evidence that the police in the particular case that would happen 16 hours later, the particular incident that would happen 16 hours later, that they could have done something different. It further spotlights their culpability and the disgusting way that they handled Sonya Massey, her life, her body, the cover up, the lies, the dishonesty, the disregard, all of it. But beyond this case, this new video shows us that it's possible to reimagine the relationship between the vulnerable and the state. It doesn't mean we get warm and fuzzy cops. It doesn't mean that we make all cops get a master's degree in drug counseling or psychology, because one, they're not prepared to train for that. But two, that still leaves policing as the fundamental mechanism for solving our problems. You can't arrest your way out of problems. You can't arrest your way out of poverty. You can't arrest your way out of drug addiction. You can't arrest your way out of rape culture. We need a revolution. We need a radical reshaping of our system and our structures. And that can't happen with policing in place. Just a reminder from the abolitionists in the room.